Welcome to Quest Givers. I'm the DMG, and with me is a man named Guest because he hasn't put his name onto the screen yet. This is the craft father DM Scotty. Sorry
DM
about
guest.
Mr. Guest. So this
You guessed
is
it. Oh,
get the drum roll out.
yeah.
This is a live show where we're going to prep a sci-fi adventure, a one-shot. Jim's and Matthew are in the chat already. So we're going to be prepping a one-shot. We're just going to go through it the way that we normally go through it. And this is a celebration of our Kickstarter. There is a link in the description below. There is a link currently in the chat. We'll probably post it a couple of times more in the chat as we go. So our Kickstarter launched on September 1st. It's for a book and PDF of our North Road campaign. You get 12 adventures and 4 quick quests. And we've probably calculated you're good for about 30 sessions of game playing if you run the whole thing and the players seek out everything in the modules. So a minimum of 16 and a maximum of around 30. So we're doing quite well at the moment. We're at last checked about 37% of our funding goal, and it's not even the first week yet, so that's good. Of course, spread the word. The more we have, the more likely we are to fund, the more likely we are to get the physical book into your hands and the PDF into your mailbox. So, our Crooked staff has joined us as well. Michael Guider, thank you everybody for joining us in this live show. So, the way this is going to work, we're just going to do our standard session prep. This is how we prep our quick quests and our modules and everything like that. We will take some inspiration from the chat window, and if you're lucky, we may ask people to join us in our little video here. But we'll see how we're going. Now, we will be doing one of these each Friday during the Kickstarter, and then most likely once a month we will be doing one of these continuing on the Quest Givers channel. So if you've been a fan of our live broadcasts before, years back, you know what to expect. If you aren't a fan yet, you will be. You will be. Now, seems like the audio is fine because no one's complaining. So
Cool.
we have to start. Our first thing is to kind of think of, we need to start thinking of the structure of the whole thing. So, Scotty, we need to first think of what kind of setting are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to say a word real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks. This is, it can be really daunting when you're like, okay, I need to think of an adventure, and then you're like, that blank page. It's like, it's essentially like you're a writer, right? Well, you are a writer, and but you're thinking of it in a different. You're thinking of it a bit of a different way because the structure and how you're going to use the material is different than a writer. A writer, you want to have the story from start to finish. You control every aspect of that. With a game, as we well know, you don't control every aspect of that, and you don't want to control every aspect of that because that's what makes it a fun game. So you're thinking, how can I facilitate to have a fun game than like to lay everything out in concrete for the game. So it's a very similar process. I feel that starting with that blank page and then getting the idea. But I also feel that with Gareth and I love bouncing ideas off other people, and then getting the idea tends to evolve and become better as you do that, right? And if you don't have a buddy who you can bounce ideas off, try to find one. Try to find someone who understands games that you can bounce ideas, or even if they don't, someone that you can bounce ideas off, because I find that you really can get better ideas. I have a friend who is no longer a DM, but he was a DM, and I bounce ideas off from my home games and stuff. So it's always great to have a sounding board like that. And I kind of feel that maybe authors are more like introverted and kind of more into themselves than the bouncing the ideas. But I find that with our process, Gareth, that it's not only is it fun, do we have fun with it, it actually helps to improve the ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bouncing the ideas, the idea is good sometimes, or it's not there yet.
Yeah.
But then when you throw in the second mind, and the second weirdo perspective, it just gets better. Bungwise has joined us as well. We'd
Oh,
love to hear
hey.
how the campaign's going, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what the chat can chime in if they want, but yes, a sci-fi setting. What are we going to be in space? A desert planet? A junkyard? A cybernetic dog orphanage?
It might be fun to start in space, and I was thinking that it's like kind of a independent, crew like Firefly or something like that, that they just go out and do missions. Like you essentially get missions from somewhere, your your bookie or your contact or whatever, gives you missions and sends you out to do. What do you think of that?
Okay, so straight up space sci-fi,
Yeah.
laser blasters, and all that kind of stuff. All
Hmm.
right. Cool. Um, so how do we take that to the? How do we, that? How do we make that not the normal? How do we put our quest giver spin on that?
Right. That's another thing we like to do. We like to, oh, the we don't like to have oh, the miller's daughter got captured and go beat up some goblins and get her back. We like to have, you know, that's fine, but we like to have a spin on it, where it's more interesting than just simply go beat up some goblins or go beat up some aliens or whatever it is. Um, yeah, so that's the trick. Now we got to figure out uh, what will make that uh, what will make that interesting or unexpected or fun.
So, like when you think about the beginning in media res, right? So normally you're flying along and then the beep beep beep, and the guy comes on. We need you to go to sector 5 to pick up this parcel, right? That's the kind of standard trope. But what I'm thinking is you got to start in the heat of the moment, right? So it's something is currently happening, um, and they like the decision they have to make for the destiny of this mission is determined by what they're actually working on in this problem that's immediately there. So the ship is on fire, or they're in the middle of a battle or something like that, or they're about to crash into a planet. Something to that effect, where it's like it starts with wah, 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 left engine is exploding and flying off. Um, that, I think, is a cool place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, so people have
'Cause-
said in the chat a space station in decaying orbit. That's pretty cool because then you take it from being a ship to a space station. So now everyone's rushing for escape pods. So rather than it being a ship, it's an escape pod that they have to get into in order to jettison off to somewhere, and then the decision is where do they go.
right. It's not like they can, you know, like a ship, it'd be a little easier to, somehow deal with that. But if you're on a space station or whatever, it's not so easy to deal with.
So taking a cue from a movie like Star Wars, right? So the droids
Hmm.
hop into the escape pod and they fire off to the desert planet. So that obviously has been done before. So if they're firing off to somewhere, like we need to subvert that in a way where they're going to like crash into another ship or something. So there's like a passing ship, like hive ship or something that they crash into rather than a planet. Or it could be like a space Hulk type thing that's infested with aliens, which would be pretty cool. What do you think?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe um, either uh, it could be fun if like a section of the spaceship breaks or the station breaks off and slams into another object, like maybe it's an alien, maybe it's like you said, like a hive thing or an alien ship, and yeah. So now they're like, then the airlock's shut or whatever, so they're safe in that chunk, but the chunk is now embedded in something else.
An alien slave ship.
Oh,
See, I'm now thinking District 9, like one of those
right,
District 9 type ships.
right.
Got to have District 9 in there.
So should we do this like ship like a kind of like it's lost control and the people who are piloting the ship or were in control of the slave population are no longer in control of it?
Well, we could go the Terminator route, and it's controlled by machines that have enslaved the beings. They don't need to be humans; they could be any kind of beings.
Right.
And it's just a mechanized ship that doesn't really care that something has blobbed onto it from the side. So it just sends out repair bots. So there's like repair bots that are like just repairing the damage, and just attaching the piece of the space station that it's just sort of randomly flew past as this thing was breaking apart.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. So like the repair pods from the other ship are like flying out, maybe even grabbing chunks of the breaking up space station, and cementing it to the hull of the other ship.
Yeah, it's like
building it into it.
That's right. It's just making the main their like slave ship bigger. So it's almost like the Borg. It's just assimilating materials.
Right. That's fun because that's not in itself dangerous, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's fun to have an adventure, because exploration and kind of just weirdness happening is fun, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to always be combat. You don't have to make everything a combat. Make stuff that's like, what are they doing? Like all that kind of stuff that causes your players to like pause for a moment and try to figure out what is happening. Doesn't have to be wrapped around combat. It can be wrapped around like trying to figure out what's going on. That's part of the exploration, when the players are exploring new places or finding out new things. That's just can be just as interesting as a combat.
So these machines that are repairing this hive and grabbing materials, they could be like the Squiddies from the Matrix. So they're like, these things that like swim around with tentacles, and they're just designed to like grab stuff and just modge it onto the main craft. So the adventurers are in this piece of this thing that breaks off. So you got the and like trying to figure out what's happening, and you see this huge behemoth through one of the portals. You see this massive behemoth coming past, and these like squiddy things coming flying along and grabbing it and attaching it to this huge hive ship. And so then they're like, connecting it and slapping on all the panels and whatever. And so the adventurers are able to get out into this slave ship. So that's really where you start to then set up the hook of the adventure. Now, obviously, they don't have much of a choice because, you've kind of stuck them in here. But we need to look at the plot hook formula. So that's available on our website. The plot hook formula talks about the three main components of a very good plot hook. So you've got the moral imperative, duty, and consequence. So what we've got to do is we've got to think of some NPCs that they can meet so we can kind of explain that this is a slave ship and these machines are in control. So we need a herald type character that they're going to meet to relay this information. So,
yeah,
what are they going to meet? What?
Let's backtrack for a second.
Sure.
And it can when the station breaks up, and the players are in a chunk of it, and they're trying to get you could have them. There are arrows pointing to the the escape pods, and you can have like all the things they try fail, right?
Yeah.
Like they get to the escape pods and they're jammed. They can't unjam the escape pods. They like everything they do just like doesn't work, and it's like we're done. Like we're done for. Like they see the planet looming, in the in the viewport, and it's like we're gonna smash into the planet. Where there's nothing else we can do, and that's when the Squiddies show up, and attach you to the ship. So
Well,
that can be a fun
the piece
start.
the ship actually starts to break apart, and so you
Yeah,
can actually
yeah.
see out into space. So there's no windows, but you can see out into space,
Oh.
and the force fields like come on, like a la Star Trek. So force
Yeah.
fields come on, and that's when you see this massive ship and these squiddy things coming out and grabbing the piece, and sort of like,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, with the force field like trying to hold the integrity together, and
and
you're like,
maybe
oh,
one of
we're
these
done
like
for.
maybe the tentacle comes in through the force field and is like grabbing onto the walls, or maybe grabs someone, a red shirt and just chucks him out into space. So they can fight with this thing, but the Squiddy doesn't care because all it wants is this huge hulk of spaceport that it can modge onto the
Right,
mothership.
right. So that's fun because they think maybe it's attacking.
Yeah,
Maybe that was what caused the destruction of the ship, and they're like, "Oh crap, attack it!" And it turns out that it's actually saving them. It's not actually attacking them.
yeah.
It's not saving them because it wants to help them. It's just saving them because it's getting the chunk of the space station. So yeah, that's awesome. That's fun. So that like you said, we need something to meet when we finally get this whole mess settled down and they're secured on the ship. So we need to start introducing like the situation,
Yeah.
like what's going now. Now they're in this new place with no frame of reference. You know what I'm saying? It's just they're just totally literally off the boat, in this new place, and they have to figure out what is going on in this new place. So yeah, we got to figure out what is it they encounter, that like their first encounter with this place, like how should that go?
Well, we want them to have some immediate desire to want to ask these questions. So it has to be a non-threatening NPC. So it's not like a guy with a gun or something like that.
Right.
I think something like an old woman who's like picking mushrooms or some kind of like ooze or something off the bulkheads because that's how she feeds her family, or she has like an orphanage or something inside the slave ship. Um, and this is the old lady that you meet, because that will seem less threatening than a guy with a gun trying to fortify his position. So yeah, it's kind of like an Ahabet type character from the Loyalists. But yeah, so I don't know. What do you think? The chat can chime in. What kind of old lady do we want?
And of course, it should be like a humanoid type alien, so it's recognizable as an older woman, and
Yeah. So
doesn't have to be human, but
it doesn't know. It could be anything, so
yeah,
long as it's
yeah.
human and may have once been with Captain Kirk,
Right.
because that's important.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So 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 the first thing is you want to divulge the information of, we're in a slave ship. This is a multi-generational slave ship that the machines basically go along collecting humans from different planets or whatever to take them to their battery center or whatever, like something like the Matrix. But the thing is, the slaves don't actually need to know why it is they're being transported, so you can actually just leave that blank.
Yeah, I
It's
think
it,
that's better to actually they
yeah,
actually don't know. Like the players find out later
yeah.
because they're going to be curious, like why, what are they doing? So
So
that's a
that's when they
great.
hack into the
Yeah.
mainframe and they can figure out what it's for. The humans may just be sort of part of some kind of spicy bowl recipe um, for some larger slug type alien, but we don't need to really explain that. But we do need to explain the plight of the people that are on here, and I like the idea of it being almost like a multi-generational, almost like not just a slave ship, but like a farm. It's like these machines are growing humans as they go. So, once it hits a critical mass, it'll then go to wherever it's supposed to dump all these people.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I like that.
So the old woman, um, we won't name her because it's just easier than people can put their own names on it. So we'll just refer to her as the old woman. Now, she will then divulge that this is a ship where these machines have, taken over and so on and so forth, and offers to help the sick and the wounded and feed the people and all that. So she takes them back to her little hut, um, and there you find what would be really good is an orphanage of kids, because that's also non-threatening. So the machines have taken away the parents or whatever, put them in a separate section of the ship or something, and all these kids have been left here and they're being tended by this old woman. Um, so then you've got the sort of the rabble from Stargate,
Right.
So there may be now you could use the kids as a way to fight the machines or not, depending on your situation of child labor. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. Depending on your how you deal with that in your group. But yeah, also another idea could be that these the kids have escaped, and this is a section of the ship that the AI or whatever can't access. Maybe there was damage, and maybe the old woman was a highly technical person, surprisingly, and like set up some kind of EMP defense or something that
which has
the
now
AI
been
can't.
disturbed by the thing being crashed into the side of the ship.
Right.
So she goes and she helps him or whatever and says, but you do realize that because you've crashed into the side of this vessel now, you've attracted the repair bots, and they're going to warn the hive mind or whatever of your presence. So we're probably going to get found out, and this can all be then talked about as and part of the meal and the healing process. So that's
Right.
really hitting the first part of the hook, is that moral imperative. You want to help these kids. You want to help this old lady. So that's the first part of it, is that. So what about duty? Like, where would duty come into this?
Right. Hmm. Like where they feel they have to help.
Well, the moral imperative is obviously it's the right thing to do to help these kids and this old
Yeah,
woman,
that's
right?
true. That's true. Right.
But
Right.
duty is like it's the soldier's duty to protect the weak or something to that effect.
Right. That's
So
that's true. Right.
she would then have to recognize them as being of, soldiers or soldiers of fortune or whatever thing that ties it in. She recognizes them as being those things, even if they're engineers.
Yeah.
It's like,
Like useful people. She recognizes that they're useful people.
correct. And so their usefulness, so if you've got an engineer and a pilot and a whatever, she will then need to identify that those people are going to be useful in terms of rescuing everybody, so that you actually define the duties for all of the characters, so that there's less of a, oh well, I've got nothing to do in this adventure, so
Right.
exactly. So the good thing is you've got the moral imperative. You want to help the old lady and the kids, and then you've got the duty. Each person's sort of skill set, is like, well, you can do this for us. That you as the character would feel compelled to do that, even if you were an evil character, you wouldn't care about the women and kids, but you may be compelled through the action of duty. And if not, that then brings you to consequence. So now the consequences of not helping them, we need to think of what that is, and the consequences of helping them. So the consequences of helping them is a reward. So you put a big juicy reward in front of them. Um, the consequences of not helping them is then just a slightly different path on the adventure that leads along almost the same route. But I think a good reward in a sci-fi thing would be like the power crystals that power this huge hive, are extremely valuable to the Federation or whatever game you're
Oh,
playing.
right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
And you could,
as Jim says in the chat, the kids know the layout, the players do not.
right, exactly. Yes. And you could take it. You could even take the old woman thing a step further by doing like a David Copperfield type thing, where the
Yeah,
kids are like working. It's not as benevolent as it seems. Like
yeah.
she's protecting them from the AI. She's helping them skirt the AI. She's using them too to get her little rats to go get stuff.
I just thought of the coolest sort of switcheroo that you pull later in the module.
Uh
She is the AI. She's the cyborg.
huh.
And this is just
That's
her way
great.
of like figuring you out. It's all just a game, you know.
Yeah. That's great.
So you
Yeah.
could do that. So we'll put that over here in our little DM chest of like badass
Right.
shit to do later on.
Yeah. Like maybe we'll go with that. That's as you're brainstorming these things, you think of like, hey, what about that? And then if you're like, well, let's see how that fits in, and then you can, but that stuff always makes the game fun because it's not just
Or just
the
Denario
standard.
just said, unfortunately, some of those paths the children take are too small for the players who have to expose themselves to the sight of the robots. So, things like that where you could,
Mm-hmm.
you need them and they need you. So that's another thing that helps to compel, because the first problem that you have as a game master when you're putting a story out there is that the players go, nah.
Right.
Nah. Big
Right.
dragon, lots of gold. Nah.
Right. So
So
you want to have multiple layers of that like you said, the duty or the moral
yeah,
imperative.
that's all
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so if you work those, or so if you work all those in, it's not just like it's much harder to say you know when the miller comes up and says my daughter's been captured by the goblin's helper. Nah.
Yeah.
I'll give you some orf shoes.
I've
Nah.
never liked those Millers. I'm not a flower kind of guy. That's
So
always
if you build that in,
yeah,
you're not gonna get the nah. Essentially.
correct.
Yeah.
And that I think is once you've got over that hump of not getting the nah, it's a nah-less adventure.
Yeah. We coined that, by the way.
Yeah. That's TM Quest Givers, the nah-less adventure. Yeah. So once you've got over that hump, that's when the players have decided, right, we're doing this thing, and then they need a mentor type character to kind of give them information or something that will help them later on in the adventure and give them an idea of what's ahead. So I think this is where they can start out on fanning out to get a lay of the land, and the kids are helping them and so on and so forth, and that's where maybe an injured an injured slave or a former soldier or whatever, they discover him. He's just had a battle with the Squiddies, and he's on his last legs. And he can then be used to give more information or an object or something that basically will be then used for later, like a key card to get into the engineer. That's where he was headed, and he got lost. And he's got the key card to get into the original flight deck, because it was once a human ship that these things just started like adding stuff to and turned it into a
That's
slave
great.
hive.
So it wasn't their ship to begin with.
That's right.
Like the AI took over the ship.
It infested
Oh,
it.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, that's great. That's
So
fun.
so there you got all these layers. You're building here. So here you're building on your original concept. So these things they collect human beings that they find in the universe for their secret spice recipe, and so they captured this original ship, and they've just been adding on bits and pieces that they find with other humans in them, which makes sense as to why they would have grabbed this piece of the spaceport in the first place.
Totally.
And then in the beginning, they could actually have been attacking. They just ripped it apart and put it wherever they needed bits and pieces on their hive craft. And the way that it works is that you can have it's almost like a nano thing that like easily penetrates the shields and then acts as a virus in the computer that they basically then controls the craft, and then through nanotechnology or whatever creates like replicators or something that then scuttle around, create squiddies, and then go and get things.
Right.
So there you're adding backstory. Just on a simple thing of saying key card, we've gone to adding a whole dimension to what's actually happening in this thing. So, so we have Wounded Guy. He's the mentor. Now, all the structure of what we're doing in terms of what you do at each event in the story is in our How to Run a Successful Role-Playing Game campaign booklet. This is on our website, 99 cents. Probably the best 99 cents you can spend. So, what's next? So, we've gone through the hook. They've made a choice. They're meeting the mentor. The next step is we've got to set a time. We have to set a time limit, some kind of ticking clock. So it's not like, oh, well, let's camp here for 6 weeks and do nothing.
Yeah. Like the players somehow find out that the AI is onto the secret lair, and they're finding a way in, and the players have to stop that somehow. Like they thought it was protected, but it's not so protected.
Yeah. So, but the clock aspect of it. So the AI somehow is exposed for a period of time, or what?
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. Right. Oh, you're talking about the AI, not the other group. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there just needs to be you must finish this quest by the end of the session.
Right. Exactly. We're not going to play for 6 weeks. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's the players find out some weakness of the AI.
So maybe that can be relayed through the injured character.
Yeah.
Or the old woman can chime in. But if the old woman is the AI, the injured guy could recognize her as a cyborg and just blow her away, which leaves the kids being the ones that need to be protected.
Oh, right.
Which adds this whole different layer. Like you come along, here's the old lady, and this dude just blows the old lady away.
Or, instead of just blowing her away, he could be like, she's a cyber, and the players have to decide if they're going to help her or not.
Well, Matthew Holstead just said cleansing mode. So that could be, that's a very cool thing. It's like within hours, the AI will be using cleansing mode. It's detected some anomaly or and it comes across a view screen or whatever, it's detected this and and this soldier figured out that cleanse mode is coming for some reason. He doesn't know why, but cleanse mode cannot be good.
Yeah, that's great because it's just like it's like a scan disk, for computer. It's just a more sophisticated version.
Yeah. And then you can have the timer die. So you can have a timer that you could tick down. Say, right, you've got 12 hours to complete this or something.
Right.
And then each event that they're doing, you're just adding an hour or subtracting an hour on a D12. And so you've got this clock. They've got to get this thing done because otherwise cleanse mode.
Yeah, right.
So Gestinaria says, I like to have an AI called UNARIS. It helps the PCs, or at least tries to. Being integrated in a ship, it wants to be helpful, but it can't help but send the PCs into trap after trap. Yeah, you could do sort of an AI that's trying to be benevolent.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
original ship's computer. Or some guy who got trapped in the transporter who's now living in the buffer.
Oh, yeah, that's a cool idea. Yeah, that's a neat idea. It could be fun too to have like some little AI unit that got damaged and like actually befriends the players, like, just a little cute little thing that befriends the players, and
Yeah, like
becomes.
almost like like a mini repair Squiddy thing.
Yeah,
You know, and it does like the R2D2 just communicates in chirps. Like,
yeah, just really endearing, like an
yeah.
endearing little bot, that's broken away from the AI or whatever. That would be really fun. Little thing to do, a little role playing thing to do.
So we've got the ticking clock now. So we've got the cleanse mode. Wah, wah, wah. You got to do the DM siren every time you change the time dial. Wah, 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 cleanse mode.
Yeah. Ship will cleanse in 8 cycles.
That's right. 8 cycles remaining.
Have a nice day.
Enjoy your day. Um, so the next part is then the gateway. So now they've got to come to a point where it's the point of no return. It's a minor test of their abilities, but it's like once they get through this bulkhead, they can't come back to where they've just been. So it can be a doorway or a situation or a person or something that they have to bypass. And I think maybe it's like it could be that they're going in a corridor, a short space in a corridor between 2 doors, but it's like Squiddy things flying along. So they got to kind of like time each person. Okay, go, and they got to run across this corridor. It's a simple test, but you don't want to have to go back. So you're kind of shutting off the door, and you could have, as the last person goes through, have the Squiddy kind of like detect them, so have a little bit of a fight with a Squiddy, and then they seal the bulkhead so they can't go back.
Right.
That would be a cool place to have some kind of bot battle. And you got to quickly usher the kids along the corridor to get them from door to door. So that would be something I think would be pretty cool. Yeah, as Matthew Holster says, it's like a train car. You kind of got to get through this one car in order, so it's that Snowpiercer kind of. This is becoming a very weird ship.
Yeah, it is. It's like the clangers and the flamers or whatever. And
well, someone so roll for damage. Oh no, sorry. Matthew also said the ship separates, so it could be like these things. It's hit critical mass now, but it's going to detach sections of the spacecraft. They're going to fly away, and this section will be the first section to detach and fly away.
Interesting.
Or be jettisoned for whatever reason.
Right.
So again, you've got that wah, wah, wah. That's part of cleanse mode. It's just going to dump pieces of the ship.
Right. And you could have as they get through a section, they dump a section, a section gets dumped or something. So
into a nearby star.
Yeah.
Because there's always a nearby star.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
I love how in science fiction stars are always just like a matter of just a few minutes away.
Right. Not years away.
We'll just go to this one here. Phew, over there.
Right.
The fact that it takes light like years and decades and thousands of years to travel it.
Right.
Don't need to know about that.
No. Science. We don't need to muddy the game with that.
No. So, what do you think that's an adequate gateway, or do you think maybe we can twist it somehow? I like the idea of something is detaching for whatever reason.
Right.
And again, you don't need to actually explain it because you don't need to explain the reasoning of the AI and what it's doing. It's a machine. It doesn't have to have reasons.
Right, right. The reasons, yeah, the people have no idea what the reasons are.
Yeah,
I kind of like that they don't know why it's doing what it's doing,
yeah.
and they maybe never find out. It's just like it's just unfathomable to them what it's doing. What the heck is it doing? But it's just
So
about survival.
so that's really the end of Act One. So we've finished Act One. Act Two is they get into like the special world, which is like the main part of the ship. That's where all the tests and trials and things happening. So Matthew has just said, yeah, pirate or scavenging boarding party. And this is like, roll for damage is like Reavers from Firefly. So we've already referenced like about 9 films in the first act. So you could even, what's the movie with the things underground with the guy from RoboCop? Is it Scanners? Screamers.
Oh, scream! Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Screamers. So you could have that kind of like, there's these things that are, moving around that are just grabbing people for their own secret spice recipe.
Right.
Um, yeah, Matt Nerdy says it sounds like the opening to Chronicle of Riddick. It probably is.
Right.
Yeah. So
And yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't be afraid to steal stuff.
Oh,
If
yeah.
it works, steal it.
The beginning of this is Star Wars. we
Right.
just don't open the escape pod.
Right. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like we talk this way all the time. It's like, with like Zerga, is Jabba the Hutt, and that kind of thing. So we reference, yeah, it's a great way where you can get ideas across quickly by just referencing other material.
And they'll never know.
No, you reskin it. Yeah, the people don't know.
So, Justinara says that's a good thing. Memes and references ground the players and give them something relatable. Exactly right.
Totally. They like, I know, I've seen it, or I know this theme, or I know.
I know what to do here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what leads them into the DM trap every time.
Exactly.
What do you mean there's no tomato sauce? So really, Act 2, you've got the tests that they have. So here they can run into bands of gangs of people in the ship, right? That the kids say, oh well, these people are always coming and stealing our goo that we pick off the bulkheads or whatever. And so you can have things like marauding gangs or there's no mental asylum, so all the loonies are roaming around. So you can have that, you bump into crazy people that are just almost like have rage sickness. This is where you can add in all the cool stuff that you would have in sci-fi sort of worlds. This is where you can ground it into your own setting. Whereas you can have people that are from or creatures or whatever from your own setting are inside this area. So this is the DM playground really, because this is where you can extend your session or contract your session as you need. This is sort of the concertina part of the story. And then the part of this phase is preparing for the major event. So the preparation, so we know that they have to get to the control center of this original ship. They know that's where the thing has to be done, right?
Right.
We're running out of time. Things that they can prepare would be like finding some sort of map or diagram or someone who knows where it is or information regarding where it is. And I think what would be really cool is you have roving gangs, is one of these roving gangs has set up their headquarters inside, because it's obviously a human sort of ship. It's like the bridge of the Enterprise, right? It's nice and it's cushy and it's got nice seats. So of course the roving gangs of bloodthirsty people have set up camp inside there, but they don't know what they've actually what they're actually like, what they're sitting on.
Right, right. They have no idea.
So thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, and that could be like um, the a great last encounter with a twist, because it's not just simply go to the control, and that's not the main problem. The main problem is this gang that's squatting there, and maybe they've got traps and other kinds of stuff that.
So the major event then is not confronting the AI. It's actually
Hmm.
trying to get this gang to give up and you can then do it diplomatically, or you can have a
Yeah, yeah.
gunfight, or you can do whatever you as the DM, whatever the players deem as like, this is how we want to solve this problem, So the preparation to that is they find out that the gang has taken control of that area. They find out where it is. They find out who the leader is. They find out more about the leader, etc. And I like the idea of it being this bloodthirsty gang.
Yeah, like everybody's afraid of this gang. Like everyone they confront or talk to in this section is like terrified of this gang, so it really builds them up.
And they can meet members of this gang who would rather die than face the leader and tell him that that they've failed in their mission. You
Oh,
know,
right, right.
so it's like super blood, and he's like has a ring of not ears but skulls of his enemies, like adorning his breast.
Yeah.
Um, what could be also interesting is you could tie it into the old woman, and that's her son.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I like
So
that.
yeah,
So the
you
players could use that
yeah,
as to help them.
yeah.
If they're smart, they could use that he's her son.
And in the beginning, you can foreshadow that by saying, years ago, I lost my son, and that's what led me to helping out all these kids because, I'd lost my one and only dear son, and he's somewhere in the ship.
Oh, that's great. And maybe she gave them something that he'll recognize,
Yeah.
like a gift that he'll
But
recognize.
if she is the cyborg, then he's also a cyborg.
Right, right, right.
And he's like, I don't have a mother, but I do
Oh,
have.
right.
So yeah, you can twist it then. So there's lots of cool things that you can do. I like the cyborg idea, but I think the mother-son relationship is cool because you've got that tie-in, and you've got another thing that the players can use. If the old lady is still alive and you haven't used her as a way to just stand here while we run through this door, please, as most murder hobo-y type people will do. Um,
Yeah.
if she's still alive, then you can use that. He has he is distracted by the fact that he's confronting his mother after all these years, and you get to then negotiate. Look, we need to use this room or whatever, and yeah, it depends on how mad he actually is as to whether that works or not. But that's up to the players and how they.
Hmm.
We don't have to figure that out. We just have to put problems in front of them.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's fun to see what they do, how they confront it. If they want to pull their lasers and start shooting. That's.
Jess Scenario says one child says that gang is scary. They're filled with nothing but a bunch of poopy heads.
Yeah. Child perspective can be really fun in games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. Seeing the world through a child's eyes can be really
So
really interesting.
Matthew Holster had a couple of his names for the gang: Rift Juices, Rifts Juices. So Roll for Damage says he was a child on a ship way earlier. She was a nursery cyborg charged with watching over the babies. When the ship was originally damaged, he was the only survivor of the babies, and he never knew. That's pretty cool. So that's pretty
That's
cool.
a neat idea. That's a neat idea.
Mommy?
I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like that's why he hates the machine so much because the machine that
Yeah.
abandoned him. Now he's like
Right.
You
That's
see, you
great.
see how this stuff just gets way better when you throw more mines at it.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's what you're saying. It's like when you
Yeah.
bounce this stuff around, it's amazing how it just sticks with better stuff.
Hey, Juice. He just arrived and disappeared.
Oh hey,
He's doing a review of one of our modules. He says next week, but I'm still waiting on the review from Under the Tavern from like 4 years ago. So there's an incentive.
was your
Um,
mother a cyborg?
so then the major event is then that they confront this gang leader in the spot that they need to be, and the reward then is they gain control of this the original ship.
Mm-hmm.
So once they've got this reward, they've gained control of this original ship. It's now they can actually like jettison the ship out of this. There's like they can fire the photon torpedoes and fly out. So that's the end of the second act, right? So the second
Mm-hmm.
act ends with they get away, but now you have a problem, and the problem is you've got this giant freaking spaceship behind you.
That's a pretty big problem.
It's a pretty big problem. So beginning of Act 3 is the exit. So the exit is you're getting out of the situation, which in this phase is literally you're getting out of the ship. But
Quite
now you're
literally,
in
yeah.
control of this, let's say the Enterprise, right? Just to make it,
Mm-hmm.
point of reference. So
Yeah.
this is where the remainders of the gang, if there are any, that's when there starts to be squabbles as to who gets to fire the guns and who gets to do whatever. But you got another wah 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 wah. Obviously there's something wrong in the engine room, but it's filled with radiation. So somebody has to go and flip a switch in this radiation like infused engine room. What do you think?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Think about how we can.
Yeah, so Matthew Holster says now there's a beacon that automatically starts an SOS to its former masters. So here you can start another clock. You've
Mhm.
got traditionally in a story, this is where you'd have like the major chase scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where like the chase scene happens. In um, in our module series, The North Road, which the Kickstarter link in the description below, On the Run is the chase scene. That whole module is one giant chase scene, and it's using the same principles here. Now, it doesn't always have to be a chase scene, but there has to be a heightened sense of danger and a heightened sense of wanting to move on and get things done. So that's really what the exit part is. So we're jettisoning out of this spaceship, um, and things are going wrong. So pieces of the ship are falling apart because obviously it's been ripped apart and put back together again by weird machines.
Right.
So Jessenari says a heroic task will end in one of the characters' lives. Yes, that's precisely right because the next section is death. The death section is if a character is going to die, that's where the character dies in the engine room, sacrificing themselves for the greater good. So if this is
Hmm.
a one shot and it's not a campaign,
Right.
there's not much left in the story, right? They're going to be sacrificing themselves to save the rest, and it's a cool thing. Everyone's like, "Yay, Jimmy!" um, but if this is a larger campaign, and this is just the first module where, like, for instance, let's say the machines, if you're going to do a 12-story arc with this is the hook, right? You've introduced the machines and all the people who've been kidnapped and all these sort of things. It's time to warn people of this is happening. So that's really your hook, your moral imperative, your duty is to tell the authorities that this is happening. And of course, you can get all the spoils of war of fighting machines. So if that's what's going to happen and you've got, 4 or 5 players in your group, you don't want to kill one of the characters in the death, but you want to get them to a point where they could die, or the death is a very real threat in the death section. So that's when, everyone's going to be chewing their nails. Like, is he going to die? Is he not going to die?
Right.
And so, and that's what happens. So I think are there some other complications we could have where, because I like the idea of it's that only one person can go in. It's like Wrath of Khan, where,
Right. Right.
one guy stuck in the thing, you can pull the lever that, saves us all.
Right.
But is there a twist? Can we twist that somehow?
Yeah. I like to um I like to have outs for characters, so it's not necessarily a death. Like it's always much funner for me to make the character think it's a death sentence if they do something, and then it turns out not to be a death sentence.
Yeah.
And that's a way you can make the game so like you say you don't want to kill somebody when you start the game, so that way you can make it seem that it's going to be a death sentence, but not. So maybe there's an out that the character discovers when they go in there and they think they're gonna
They
die.
pull the lever, and then there's like, they see on the opposite wall like a flashing red button, and there's no label as to what it does, but like they've got, they're going to die, so they push the red button, and that's like that evacuates all the radiation gas or whatever, and they've saved themselves, but you still got like, do you not push the button?
Right.
And then they try to, what will happen? Can I find out, what's going to happen? It's like, you got like 3 seconds left, man. Make a decision.
Right.
There was a suggestion in here that Matthew says perhaps nanobots infuse the dead body. So you could have it like the red button evacuates all the gas, but then, there is like that nanovirus that we talked about, like infects that player. And the player, you can inform the player, or you can have it as this thing that goes on through the next modules. If you continue on, they slowly are being assimilated, just like the Borg, but it's a really slow process. And they will then be hooked up to the AI at some point. But that could be like, 11, 12 modules ahead. But each time it's getting like worse and worse and worse. So that's something you could do, which would be really, really cool, especially when
I love that idea. Yeah.
yeah, when you get to like final battle type things later on, if you're doing this war with the bots, and then this player turns and they've got to try, he becomes the major event, or she becomes the major event, and they've got to try and extricate the AI from this person because it's their beloved friend Bob, or Bobette.
And I love to do things where the characters get something like that, but it has useful benefits. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it makes you stronger or faster. So how and it's rebuilding your body, right, to make you better. So when do how long do you want to go with this? Like, if you just purge it immediately, you're not going to get the benefit of all that. But if you let the things work up in your system and rebuild your body, essentially your cell, but from a cellular level, maybe you're going to be like you 2.0, right?
Well,
so how far but if you go too far, then you lose your, what I'm saying? So I love doing that in games. I've done it in games before. And it's been great. It's been really fun.
Well, it could be like the immediate effects are good. So they get a dexterity boost, they get a strength boost.
Yeah.
So they're like, this is cool, But then it starts to weigh like 2-3 modules. Then it's like, okay, but now you've got this creeping headache that won't stop, and you keep seeing visions of planets,
Right.
And so periodically through the module, they like miss a turn. The DM just says, well, you miss a turn. Why? You just got you just have the sudden onset of a headache.
Right.
That
I
renders
love that
you
kind of
useless
stuff.
for one turn.
Yeah.
So then you've got to try and figure out what's wrong with you, right? So then you've got to go and you've got to get scanned. And that's when they find out that you've been infested by this thing. And there's like, they've got to then go and find someone to help them, and so on. And you can build that all into the story later on. So there's just so much that you can do. Gestinario said maybe it's not a reactor core meltdown, maybe it's a chamber where the machines are made. And oh look, a new template has just entered the chamber for modification. The immediate problem with that is it's not threatening the other players. So it has to be a thing that's basically threatening them all with death. So someone has to go and sacrifice themselves, so that everyone, so that the needs of the few outweighs the needs of the many, sort of thing. So it's always with a moral choice. It's like, well, if no one does it, everyone dies.
Did you say the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many?
I might have. The needs of the many well, in the DM's case, the needs of the DM outweigh the needs of the players.
The needs of the players outweigh the needs of the NPCs.
So yeah, it's that, and Bungwire says roll on a Metamorphica table. So yeah, so you can like have cybernetic things start happening to this player, which again,
that's fun. That's a fun idea.
So long as the player's okay with that, you can have a discussion after this module and say to them, this is what's going to happen. If they don't like it, then it just goes away. The next town they're in, the stuff is removed. And you can build it into the story some other way. But if they're okay to go with it, because they're now going to be this thing that's growing, this evil that's growing within the party, which is really cool. That's when the stories, the double crossings start to happen, and
right.
That player's getting weird messages at 3 a.m.
Right.
So one of us has just been described as a tyrant. You tyrant.
I'm sure it's you. It's got to be you.
What do you mean, me?
Couldn't possibly be me.
So the next section is life, which is basically we've overcome death. So we're alive. And this is the real reward of the story is
that the players continue, or they level up, or they
and then the final section is celebration. So this is that's really where the sort of leveling up and
sorry about that.
Life is where you that's when the healing starts to take place. You then, in this section, you introduce the next plot hook or whatever's going to drive the story forward for the next adventure. So you notice a planet on the scanners up ahead. It's only going to take 3 hours to get there, so we should be able to outrun this giant mechanical behemoth that come.
But it's always chasing. You know what I'm saying? It may be behind and we can outrun it, but we've got, it's like self-sustaining and we're not. Like, we gotta refuel, we gotta resupply, so it's always like in the background, like chasing you around. That'd be a great basis for a campaign.
Sweet. So we in an hour, I think it's been an hour.
We started a little
1 hour
late,
and 2 minutes. 1 hour and 2 minutes. We've created, hopefully, we'll have a vote in the chat. Who thinks there's about 18 people or 15 people watching at the moment? Let's have a vote in the chat. Type in, is this a cool adventure? I want to, is this something you would go through this video, write out what we said, and go, I'm going to play this thing.
Yeah, is this something you'd like to play? Right. Is this an adventure you'd like to play?
And would this fit into the rule systems that, because we haven't described anything that would be any specific rules. So you could ICRPG this, Starfinder, Rifts, Shadowrun, if there's a space version of Shadowrun.
Traveler.
Star Trek, Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Trek.
All of those things will work. All of those should work. Roll for Damage says, when can we play?
And with Star Trek, it could actually be an old starship that's been assimilated. That's literally like you said, this command center is literally the bridge of the old starship that's inside. So wouldn't that be badass? Like, photon torpedoes, you blast your way out. Oh yeah.
So we got so Roll for Damage. When can we play? Matthew Holst said, I'm in. Jess Scenario, it's definitely interesting. I would run it. Matt the nerdy vote, yes. Matthew Holstead, perfect for ICRPG. Move far, yes. So anyone who's watching who hasn't commented, now's your time to shine. You know, you could even super chat that if you wanted to.
Oh, there you go.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, throw $1. So have you got a little bit of time, Scotty?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Let's
what
keep
I
going.
think we can do, we can open it up. If people want to join us in the video chat, you can join us by going to whereby.com/questgivers. It's on the screen now, whereby.com/questgivers. I will actually put it in the chat so you can actually click it. But yeah, it's a simple, you don't need anything special. You will need a webcam. But, you know, if your laptop doesn't have or your phone doesn't have a webcam, then, yeah, I can't help you there. So there we go. So, I'll just check if we've actually budged at all on the Kickstarter while we've been doing this. Let's see. Loading. So we're at 37%, a little over 5,000 Australian dollars. So thank you for everybody who has actually backed. There are backers in the chat at the moment.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah,
really
we're thankful
appreciate
for everyone
it. Really
who
appreciate
has shown us their hard-earned ducats. Alrighty. So, just an hour. Well, fine then.
Yeah, it was fun. Actually, Matthew had a little experience with this in my ICRPG game because they ran into this pod ship that had these like weird dangling organic pulsing things, and they discovered that they could take these things and like almost wear them like a backpack, and it would jack into you and would increase your stat. Hey, man,
there he is.
It would increase your stats. And so the players had to decide whether they wanted to take these or not. And if they did, at the end, the ship would trying to purge the alien life form, and then it would blow up if any of the players still had it, were jacked into the alien life form. So that was but it was all their decision. I never forced them to take it. It was all their decision whether they wanted this, essentially like character boost, this alien life form to be attached to them. So that was fun.
Matthew, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. How you doing?
It's our first time meeting face to face. We've obviously communicated digitally, but never actually like, hi, how are you? You're going to be at Mace in November, is that right?
I am. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I had both running, so I was getting weird feedback. Yeah, I'll be at Mace, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to meet you guys. Well, I mean, it's Scotty, but it's the whole crew. I am so looking forward to it. Fantastic.
If people don't know in the chat, the Mace in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, Carolina in November. That's when all the Tabletop Crafters Guild masters are going to be there. Scotty and I are running Quest Giver modules there. Obviously, our friend Matthew is going to be there. Now, Matthew, you actually sell leather products and things as well, don't you?
I do. A little slowing down on that. I'll be doing that Bob Ross fantasy painting class actually. Sadly, none of you guys have time. I've checked.
I know it's like
it's so unbelievable.
Absolutely. We're so busy,
jam packed. So.
And I've seen your Bob Ross paintings on Facebook. They are fantastic.
Well, you can do them.
I know
that's what that's
all about. It's a fantastic
style. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So who's joining us? It's Bungwires.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Gentlemen, audio okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Super. Wow, this is slick. I want to prop you guys.
Thanks,
for many reasons. Done a bit of campaigning within your world. My players have enjoyed it thoroughly, so thank you very much. I'm working on a little something special, and it wasn't because I hadn't read Thief yet, And I don't want to give too much away, but you guys already clued it in about the talking dog.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, talking dog. Where have I? Oh yeah, Scooby. So I don't want to give too much away because some of
You
my
got
folks
it, you got
might
it.
tune into this. You never know. And next month will be the game. I'll let you guys all know, fill you in on the deets on how that rolls. It's going to be
Awesome.
too much fun.
It's
I love
fantastic.
I love your modules because you can convert them so easily into, basically everything. Whatever you want, whatever system you want, whether you want to do sci-fi or fantasy or whatever, or whatever like game style you're playing too. It doesn't matter. It's great.
That was
very
important to us, it's because otherwise you peg yourself to one game, and it's like, and then all the people who have, like, who've invested in another smaller game somewhere, they go, oh, there's never anything that people create for this. Well, that's what Quest Givers is. It's like all those games. If you're a game designer and you don't have modules for your game, Quest Givers has your back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's so easy to run in any system. And yeah, once you put a brand on it, once you say 5e or Pathfinder or whatever, then people don't think of it as anything else but that. I mean, you can convert it, you can use it for another system, but once you brand it, yeah, people just don't think of it like that way. And I like just having the system neutral where it's like there's no connotation about any particular system, so it works in any system.
Do you have any questions regarding the modules?
Myself?
Yeah, like anything that wasn't clear? Or...
I don't. Not really. There was actually, to be honest, I haven't read through all of your modules, and I don't know why that is, but it's probably time.
That's all right.
I have like so much reading on my list already. So, but that's cool. I think I don't know. I think what I would say is that if anyone's interested in something that is going to be unique, something that's going to be easy to run and cater to your table, this definitely would be something to look at. Quest Givers, you guys did knocked it out of the park. I think with at least the first. I can't remember 3 or 4 modules that I've read anyway so far, and of course the Thief module which I'm working on. So, yeah, and for sure, like if you, especially like a lot of how I really like how you guys write the dialogue for the characters, as opposed to the statistics for the characters. Let the players and the GM come up with the statistics. That stuff's that's no brainers for most people if you've run a game or two. Yeah. But the fact that you give, like, oh, this guy says this, and you can ask him 6 questions, or you can ask him 5 questions, or whatever, and he's got so many responses to everyone, and each character that you encounter has a list of those things. It really helps develop the game and keep it flowing.
So I work. So I'm a high school art teacher, and we have a thriving Dungeons and Dragons club, which makes me super happy. And I'm not the I'm not the admin for the facilitator, but I'm actually going to run some of your stuff with the dungeon masters from that group, because they've got 3 or 4. And these kids, they've never played in a proper adult game, so the silly, crazy crap. Well, I mean, you remember what it was like playing in high school. Like, you should hear. So I sit there and I'm listening to them, and I'm like, oh God, I remember that. Oh God, and so I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. So
that's fabulous. Back when I was in school in South Africa, if you were doing that at school, you probably would have been arrested.
Oh, exactly. I still marvel at it too. So
yeah, I was in the satanic panic. It was just like
Yeah, I joke. My parents wanted to get me counseling when I was in 6th grade because I played D&D.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Seemed to have turned out.
I don't know about that, but maybe it was a good idea. Maybe.
Maybe the man I am today.
I think so, actually, but I don't know. So Bungwire's there.
Yeah.
Are you going to be at Mace? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, no, I wish.
pretty far away,
I live in
okay.
Canada. I live in Toronto.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
but if you guys want to come up here, we have no
Oh,
convention
God, I'd
scene,
love to.
as far as I know. There's Comic Con or some and TIFF, I guess, coming up here next couple of weeks. But yeah, as far as I know, there's very few actual conventions in this area. I've always wanted to, planning on to, as soon as it's on my bucket list, do GaryCon. That's within within a reasonable 6 or 7 hour drive from me.
Wow.
I
That would be-
definitely
that'd
want
be
to do
sweet.
GaryCon at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not so into going to something like Gen Con, but GaryCon
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
See,
definitely
it sounds to me like it's much more intimate. I mean, it's growing and
Yeah.
growing as the years go by, but
right.
yeah.
I'd love to go to GaryCon because Nathan Like goes to that one too, and he's near it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I've never in person met Nathan, so I'd love to.
Isn't he coming to Mace though? Didn't somebody talk him into it?
I think I think he might be staying with Kemper, like him and
Yeah,
Kemper might be
okay,
in a
that's what I
room
thought.
together.
Okay, fantastic.
So yeah, that would be so awesome
All
because
right.
we've never met in person. I mean, we're good friends, but we've never met. In
I've
person,
never
so.
met you in person.
Well, that's true, right?
I don't know if you're the AI in the ship.
So as part of one of your Kickstarter goals, there's like airplane tickets to the U.S. Gary?
No, but if you've got extra coin lying around, you can have DM Scotty run the entire campaign for you and 4 of
I
his
saw
closest
that. Yeah,
friends.
that's very very clever.
Yeah.
We're still
That's
still
awesome.
waiting for someone who's going, that's a great retirement gift to myself.
Right.
So, but
That would be really
put it
fun
in
to do. That'd
put
be
it in my
really fun to
wife's
do.
email box and see if she can get it
Yeah.
for me for Christmas.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Christmas
Or even just
present
a
for the
bunch of
next 10
players get
years.
together and chip in or something, you know.
What's
So-
I haven't checked it out. I'm going to support it. I haven't checked it out yet. What is it, like $12,000? What did you do? What's your price?
Yeah.
What's your price?
I mean, if you want to pay that.
If you think it's $12,000, I can just quickly add a pledge level there.
Matthew Hall said, "What's the credit card number?"
So it's 4,400 Australian dollars, which works out to be a little under 3,000
Yeah.
US. Now,
Yeah.
you're getting the entire campaign, so you're at a minimum 12 sessions. You've got
It'll be
DM
more
Scotty.
Than, it'll be more than 12, yeah.
Yeah, you got DM Scotty running the thing, and it's for up to 5 people. So you
Wow.
know, so you'd
Not
be
bad.
playing for like a whole year.
At least, yeah, probably more than a year actually.
It's probably good value then, I suppose.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, if you add it up, but yeah.
We don't we've put a limit of 3 on there because one, Scotty doesn't have.
I mean,
Oh,
not
no.
that I'm expecting 3, but it's like or more. But it's like, well, what if I, what if
what
some
happens?
weird situation?
3 billionaires come on and go, let's do it.
To quit my job. Yeah.
But
You
look,
say hi to DM. You say hi to Mr. Scotty.
Hey.
Hold on. All right, you got to go to bed.
I know.
Okay, I love you.
I love you, but.
So,
so that was just a that's a fun level that someone may think that like that would be a great way to support us and get really good experience out of it.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I'm actually running it with a group now, and we're just having a blast with it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Your wife keeps dropping all these messages on Facebook talking about how great the campaign is. Like, I can't play with him. What's going on?
Okay, hold on. Quiet.
Like, how come I'm not? Oh yeah, time zones.
Right. Yeah, just a touch. Just a touch out of the time zone.
It's almost literally on opposing sides of the world.
Right. Yeah. Like almost literally opposite. So Matthew, you're going to run games at the club, at the high school club.
I'm going to run games at a local game shop for
Oh, okay.
the game masters of the club. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I can't take a bunch of 15-year-olds. It's going to be too much. I'll go.
Yeah,
nuts.
I've done that. It's
Yeah. But the guys that are running the games are pretty serious, and they, I mean, just like you guys, you just like creating that, game for tonight that we did or that you did. I could bust out all the old moves. They've never seen any of them. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's how my group was, because they had never, a lot of them had never played D&D before or any role-playing game. So all these monsters were new, all the classic D&D monsters for me, for my group were all new to them, so it's fun that you can do that stuff and
they
bring
know
out those old moves.
Yeah, they know all the crazy stuff, like all the races and the subclasses and all this. And I'm going to make basic characters. Choose. You get to be a wizard or a rogue, and we'll just see what happens, and they'll have fun.
Oh yeah. Because all those trappings isn't what makes a fun game. It's all the sub race and this race and that. That's not what makes a fun game.
No,
it's the content.
No,
I feel that the game gets lost in a lot of those things.
That's the problem. Yeah.
The basics of the dwarf, the fighter, the mage, and the thief. Those are my favorite games. Every time we play, when it's a party like that, it's the best game, right? But then when you've got someone who's a half drow dinosaur riding,
exactly,
like half wizard rogue, it's too much.
And it's funny, this is a little rant. Those are the guys that always wind up complaining about metagaming. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Your whole character is a metagame. What are you talking about?
Right. Your character concept is a meta concept.
Oh, well, Did you guys see that Golden Girls meme that Mike Merles was quoted as saying that the Golden Girls were the template for AD&D, maybe? Because that was about the time.
I think so. I did see that.
Is that at all real by any chance? I didn't look into it. I
think it was
I'm
early
guessing
80s.
Not, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Golden Girls
it was
early
pretty funny.
80s, so yeah.
Yeah. It seemed to be anyway. But the whole template for those, the perfect party, adventuring party, that seemed kind of accurate. So
it does totally.
Well, any sort of triangle of characters, like you've got the sort of Kirk, Bones, and Spock, triangle. You've got the Stargate SG-1. You've got the four people there. Those sort of groups. Is really what that is. That ensemble, and when you have an ensemble that's just too out there and like too wacky, it never works because there's no reason for these characters to gel together or to work in unison. Because they don't feel real because you're a half drow dinosaur riding mage thief thing.
Cowboy. You got to be a cowboy. If you go that far, you might as well.
Thief, mage, gunslinger, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I've started running just one-offs actually and foregoing campaigns entirely. It's just because you can sit down at the start of the night, say, okay, you guys are going to be these four characters. We recently did Indiana Jones and Marilyn Dietrich and Howard Hughes were the PCs. And we ran an adventure, and it was gunslinging, and we ended up on a Zeppelin at the end to finish the night. It was fabulous. We all kind of had we got an email saying you're going to be Indiana Jones, and you can do a little prep about that. So and how hard is that? You watch a movie, right? And then you come into a night session and you're like, okay, well, here's your character. Here's the scenario. Off you go. Roll some dice, drink some fine wine, eat some cheese and pizza. Have a good night with your buddies. Right? It's so simple. And you're still in a way, sort of, you still are being a rogue. You still are being, a fighter.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's just not under the guise of the classic Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
But and I feel it's sort of like we're in that period of time where we're still hanging on to that, but we're slowly. A lot of people I think are slowly kind of picking up and moving forward into other avenues of fantasy. That's fantasy, but it's not classic fantasy. I think what I would say.
I find with modern television that they're kind of getting in the same mode as modern D&D, where they've got when the show starts, they've got these fully fleshed out characters that, they're just tons of backstory just keeps hitting you in the show.
Yeah.
And the character's not developing in the show. The character was developed before the show, and you have the same problem in D&D. The character is fully fledged and fully operational before it even hits the game. And the problem with that is it's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And that's a problem when
Exactly.
you're writing a serialized show. Like, if you've got nowhere to go, that means you don't go anywhere. The character remains the same and flat the whole way and doesn't actually grow at all. And there's a lot of shows that suffer from that. And it's because they don't have... when you start with a stereotype cardboard cutout and then you make a shift somewhere in there, and then you start adding features to this character as you go, the audience learns about the character as they're going, rather than just these information dumps about their background and their history and their parents and their whatever, that everyone tries to foreground as quickly as possible. And Scotty and I have always talked about, your backstory should be very, very slim, so that there's room to move, because in the game, that's where I find as a player, and obviously if other people will feel differently, but it's just my opinion, is that you should be, as the player, you should be learning about your character while you're playing the game, rather than creating the whole character before you start.
Sure. And the details of your character should be your motivation within the game. And as GM, that's one of the hardest things, I think, to get over, is that you've got this intricate plot and you've got this great story that you want to go, and then your players show up at that night, and all of a sudden, because of the way they see their characters, your plot line or your storyline is turfed and out the window, because they just decided that, no, this is how my player's going to be, and suddenly you're derailed. It's like you're the one that's derailed. You're not. The players have moved on in their own path. So
with that high school group, I just shared the Safe for Work version of the article of how to be a better player. I don't know if you guys saw. It's like 11 steps or 11 key or whatever. It was fantastic. And one of them, literally, is you play the game. Yeah, just play the game.
Yeah, right.
Yes, that's where the evil tower is. And, you left the tavern on purpose. You know what I mean? Go home and go to the tower.
You forgot to go under the tavern first.
Every time. Yeah.
Shameless plug by other person. I mean, it's one of the things is, when you're running a character that you develop before the game and you don't have any way to grow, and you want the DM to start to integrate your backgrounds into the story, it's like when you're walking down the street, is your history integrated into the background of what's happening in front of you? No. The world exists, and you have to, as a character, have to react to what's happening in the world. The world does not react to your character. The world reacts to your actions. And I think that's the thing that gets missed a lot. Is like, the world just exists. You can do whatever you like in the world, but the world is not dependent on you. It just exists.
And I like to work myself into the story instead of having the game master try to work the story into my background. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy enough to do, and then you're creating your character. You're creating the background of your character through the story. It's much more dynamic, as far as, because you're discovering it as you play. You're making this stuff up as you play, and adding to your backstory as you play. So I just have a paragraph or a few sentences for my background.
One of the guys I play with is Richard Woolcock. He's known by Zadmar for Savage Worlds. So he's put out a ton of free stuff. And one of the things I picked up from him is, we're giving out bennies throughout the game, of course. But when you make up something on the fly from your character's backstory that's not there, like you just make, as it turns out, I met this guy 10 years ago when I was, a barkeep or whatever, you know, and you enter, there's your Benny,
Sure.
and then it just moves on. The whole story just keeps going. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So being able to kind of incentivizing that sort of gameplay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to instill this into these kids. This is kind of what's on my mind.
And if it makes narrative sense, absolutely bonus. Yeah, bonus points. Plus one for you. You're successful. Yeah.
Well, that's, I think, when most of the people that I DM for are DMs themselves. And so you get a GM, when they're a player, they're going to use their agency a lot more than a standard player who's never DM'd, because they haven't really experienced doing that. And I think it's important as a DM, one of your skills to learn is to get the players to do things that they haven't done before. Like, for instance, I did it once with my players. It shocked them so much, but immediately changed their mindset of the game. I said, okay, you walk into the guardhouse. Now describe to me what you see.
Yep.
And then I tell you what's in the guardhouse. Like, yes, tell me what you see. And so the first guy's like, oh, well, there's a guy in plate mail standing behind a counter filling out some forms. And the next guy's like, okay, and there's some stew in a pot on the corner, and there's some people milling around in a changing room. And then so I said, well, the guy behind the counter says, what do you want? What are you doing here? And so I'm now adding character to a character they created. And that blew them away, because they didn't realize they had the power to actually do that. And I think at some points in the game, as the GM, you need to allow them to actually experience doing that, so that they realize that it's actually possible, that that's something they can actually just concoct parts of the story on their own.
That's the whole magic of the table, actually, right there.
Yeah, Scotty does that too. So I've played at least 2 games, maybe 3, I can't remember now. But yeah, always lots of fun. And that's how the characters introduce themselves, just start making crap up, and it's always a blast.
It is
every time.
That's the funnest. That's the funnest part of it, you know.
But the people that are jumping into your games are all at the con. You know, they've all played a lot.
True.
So we gel pretty quick, or at least for me, it's always been. Everybody gels pretty quick, and everybody starts coming up with crap left and right. It's amazing. So it's so much fun.
It is.
I don't really get that in my regular gaming life. So.
I definitely try to encourage that, in my games. So,
because the chaos is where the fun is.
And I think, I think too, games that have less rules kind of encourage you to do that. Like, they encourage you to make up, because you don't have the rules to say, oh, I'm going to do XYZ move. You say you have to kind of extrapolate what your character's doing more if you don't have a specific move. You know what I'm saying? Like, I push this button, you actually have to describe. So I like that. I like that with like kind of rules like systems like ICRPG, where you gotta I think it feels like you have more room to do that, and I encourage it in games. Even D&D, I encourage it.
I love just taking the rule book and just chucking it over my shoulder and go, let's go.
Yep.
Bring it on.
It's a good group of players that can rules adjudicate on the fly, right? Like, you've got a good group when you're like, I don't know how we should handle this. How about, let's just decide on a DC, whatever, roll one die, whatever you want. At the end. No, I forgot how the spell works. Do I need this component? Whatever. And someone cracks open their book at the table, and oh my god, I was so happy about 3 or 4 years ago when our table finally put those all away, and we're like, you know what? We've played since in the early '90s and late '80s. I think we know what we're doing, and let's just move forward.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Totally.
I had one player who just created spells on the fly. Who just like, well, it was within the realm of like what his character would do, and it's like, we'll roll for it to see if it happens, but wouldn't. A good player won't go, right, I drop a planet on the guy, right? It's he'll use within the reality of what he's capable of doing. Those are great players, because then they're bringing things you haven't seen, you didn't know, right? They're just adding stuff And usually that's fun and engaging as the DM because you don't know what's going to happen, and then you've got to quickly solve the problem in your mind and go, but I'm going to throw a curveball at you because I've got to add problems to the mix.
Yep. Absolutely. Gareth, what time is it where you are? Every 13, 14 hours?
Quarter to 11 in the morning.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
Oh, you just finished breakfast then, so you're fine.
Chewing on
And Scotty, you're in
Dayton, Ohio.
1 hour behind Eastern? I can't remember.
I'm Eastern.
Oh, you're still Eastern? Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm Eastern.
Yeah. And I'm in Florida, so it's Eastern. Yeah.
How's your weather?
Beautiful. Thank you for asking. Seriously, it's been amazing.
Good.
We got completely missed where I am, and thank goodness because holy crap.
Yeah,
That's a bit of a mess down there. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it takes us. I'm far south Florida. It takes me 7 hours to get out of Florida.
Oh.
And that's driving fast. So we were just going to stay put no matter what.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, guys, it's been great chatting with you. I would love to stay up later.
Thanks for joining us.
It's that time, so thank you very much.
All right,
and Gareth, Scotty, I'll see you guys in a couple of months. And Bungwires.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely, man. Take it easy. Bye.
Take care, man.
Ciao.
So we're about an hour and a half in, so we'll hang on for a little bit. If there's anybody else who wants to join us, you can see the website address there. I'll put it in the chat as well, so you can click on it if you're interested. Roll for damage. I hope your internet is fixed so you can join us. But yeah,
I was shocked at how simplistic it was to actually join your conversation tonight. So thank you. Whereby,
yeah. It used to be Appearing, but they changed their name.
Okay, well, wow. A click and a click was all it took.
Yep.
Can't get simpler than that.
No. I'm gonna check out too, actually. So again, I want to,
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you guys keep on doing what you're doing, and I totally will give you guys an update about how my game runs. I think we're playing the 12th or something of October, but it will be awesome. Should be awesome. I'll totally send you guys some heads up about how that all ran.
The little robot in the adventure we just talked about, the cute little robot, should be called Bungwires.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's yours. There's no copyright. It's all yours.
I love it.
Anyway, thank you so much. We'll be in touch, I'm sure. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Thanks again.
Have a good night, guys.
Take care now.
Yeah, so if you want to join us, it's a simple click, and you're in.
Yep. And, click.
Yeah, we'll just hang around for a few more minutes, just chatting about things. If you didn't know, if you hadn't watched the beginning of this video, this is in celebration of our Kickstarter, which launched on September 1st. This is to raise money to get a printed book of the North Road campaign. There's 12 adventures and 4 quick quests. It's going to total you between 16 and 30-ish sessions of gameplay. So easily a year or 2, depending on how often you meet. Or maybe a week if you're just in high school. You could run through the whole thing in a week.
Yeah, if you don't have adulting like we do, you can burn through it.
Roll for Damage is asking, when are we expect this one shot to be released? Well, I don't know if we will release it. We might just leave it and people can use it as it is. It's good enough to release. What do you think, Scotty? Is it's good enough to put it out there?
Oh, it sure is.
You get to type it out.
Not me.
I've got to quickly find
the world's
someone
worst
on Fiverr.
typer.
Oh, well, in that case, no. If someone wants to go through the video and type it out and do a collab with us, we'll, if there's artists out there who they want to do a collab, we'll put it out there. We'll just be the people who wrote the story. We'll take a small chunk of the top and you can get a percentage on the rest. So we're happy to do that if someone wants to do that. just business@questgivers.com. That's the email address, business@questgivers.com. Send us, I want to do this. Yeah. That's your way in.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you want to join us in the chat, there it is in the video chat, so you can actually appear on the screen for all eternity or however long YouTube exists. Whereby.com/questgivers. There is a link in the chat as well.
Till the end of time.
Yeah, I've just been demonetized. Copyright strike.
So we want to thank everybody who's supported the Kickstarter. It's just great, and we have those lower levels. Most Kickstarters you don't get anything. You can be like, oh, I'll give you $1. You don't get anything for that, but we actually have a reward for a $1 level. We prefer you to get the book, but if you can't afford that, just $1. You actually get something for the $1, unlike most Kickstarters. So we appreciate everybody who's helped and supported and just encouraged us, to keep doing this stuff. And I really feel that it's worth what we're doing is worthwhile, and that it's a value. The quests are, I think the quests are great. I mean, well, I guess I'm a little biased, but
a little.
I'm pretty discerning on like modules, So, I think ours are great and just fun. I mean, like I say, I'm running them myself, and the players are just having a blast, having fun. So we want you guys to have the same fun that we're having.
So Matt Nerdy is asked, when are you guys going to play one of your adventures? Well, we do play them currently, just not on the internet.
Yeah. I haven't really done a stream or anything, but
there are I think, is it 3 or 4 streams that people have done so far? So if you goggle it, you will probably find someone who has streamed one or more of our adventures out there, so you can get a small taste. Otherwise, we have the quick quests on our website. They're an ultra low price, and they're not free because we have lights that need to stay on, and a cat that's hungry, and Scotty's got to find things for skulls in the background. But
I don't have enough skulls. I need more skulls.
So hopefully this live video has given you an idea of how we put together our modules, how we put together our quick quests and that sort of thing. As you can see, you can do it in an hour. So we opened up the floor just over an hour after we finished putting the quest together. We talked about the various things we have. So this is how to run a successful role-playing game campaign, dirt cheap, that's in that 99-cent bracket, and plot hook formula. So those two together help you significantly in getting the right sort of layout for your story, because that's important. A lot of people don't structure stories, even writing novels and TV shows and things. The structure is just all over the show, and that's what leads to things collapsing. And we don't want that. We want your games to go on and people to say, wow, I'm coming back next week to play again, because that's what it's all about. Yes, it's a social experience, but as a DM, you want players and you want consistent players, and that hopefully will help you out.
Yeah, it was funny. I was telling Gareth a week ago that one of my players in my Quest Givers game was like, I wish we could play more, because it was like my friend from college came to visit and I ran a game for him, and he was like, oh, can we keep playing? It was so much fun. And I said, okay, let's do this. We'll do an online game, and however much you can do it. He's like, well, I can basically do like once a month. So we're like, okay, we'll set it up for once a month. And my other friend who's in the game is like, oh, I wish we could do it like every 2 weeks, or instead of once a month. But that's the greatest thing you can hear from your players, that they're just enjoying it that much that they want to play more. They want to get together. But yeah,
the greatest unspoken compliment is they come back for more.
Yes, please, sir, can I have some more quests?
It's the cocaine of role playing. Ground Beef says, my group played the first few modules. We had a blast. A little murder hobo, Bung Wires. I think he's in Bung Wires' game. I think he's the one who actually put Bung Wires onto the Quest Givers, so that he originally went and got the modules. So thank you for that, Ground Beef.
Yeah, yes. And the modules, I mean, can take that. They can take murder hoboism, or they can take, if the players want to be more RPG or role playing, they can take that too. That's what's great. That's a great thing about them, that they hold up. However, whatever your play style or whatever your group, they're going to hold up. And you can't say that about every module.
Yeah, and trying to get, make something work across 12 to 16 modules, that in itself is a feat, and that's again where the structure becomes important. But I mean, when you and I sat down to write the campaign, because we wrote the campaign first, it literally was an hour. Like, you just saw us do an adventure in an hour, or we did the whole campaign in an hour. So we didn't go into huge detail in each of the modules, but we did the whole campaign based on the structure that's in this booklet. And then we went into each module and did the whole structure, the story structure, as we did in this video. Takes about an hour. And then we then flesh out various things within the module, and we chat over Messenger and so on and so forth. And then Scotty writes the bare bones of the story, which is basically without dialogue, and it's just sort of like, this is what needs to happen in this scene, this event, and that gets laid out, and then it comes to me, and then I write what you read in the final thing. But it goes back to Scotty again for revision. It's like, what about this? How about what if this person says that? Can we tie it into the future or the past? And all the time Scotty's working on terrain and artwork and whatever for inside the book, and I work on the covers. Although Scotty, the really great picture of the guy on the thief cover is Scotty's art, which I think is probably one of our best covers.
Oh, well, thank you.
It is.
I love your ink art, your pen and ink art.
Yeah, it's like an artist is never like, you're never 100% happy with what you've done, and it's like,
no, that's true.
Yeah, and you have that sort of and people say it's great, and it's like, yeah. But
right.
Thank you for that. It's like, but your one I think is the strongest of, or in the top two.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I feel it's the strongest one that we've got so far. But other people can chime in. Susan's in the chat, so she can chime in.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, no one seems to want to join us in those. You've got 1 minute. If you're in the video chat within 1 minute, then we'll continue. But if there's no one, then we're going to wrap this up, and we'll see you next Friday for another one. While we're waiting for that one person to, what should we do next Friday? Which genre should we do?
Oh, yeah. Let's do,
Equestrian fantasy. My Little Pony.
My Little Pony. Yeah, we'll do a furry adventure. What should we do?
A Western?
Yeah, that's funny, because that's what just popped in my mind. Yeah, Western. Let's do a Western.
So all the brain waves.
Yeah. Or we could modify it and do like a kind of creepy Western, or like
a horror Western.
A horror Western. Yeah, let's do a horror Western.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Nerdy says ships on the high seas, but we've already locked in horror western because you didn't log into the video chat and it took too long to read it on the page.
And tell us what to do.
That's right. We're ignoring you, text people.
But yeah, this is, I'm glad you guys got to see this, because this is exactly what we do to make modules. What you saw today is exactly the same thing we do to make modules. We just bounce ideas off each other, and it was fun to bounce it off the people who are watching too, that are making suggestions, which we incorporated some of those into the thing. So yeah, that's what we do. We bounce these ideas, and like in an hour we have a rough idea of what it's going to be, and then we start working on it.
Engineer Jeff says horror western, he's in.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun.
All right. Well, no one has joined us, so we're at about an hour and 49 minutes in. Thank you, everyone who joined us the whole show. For those who came in later and earlier and then back in and out and all that sort of stuff. Please consider our Kickstarter, link in the description below. And we will see you next Friday when we're going to do our horror western session.
Yeah. So
excellent.
Awesome. Yes. Excelente.
So I'll play out with a small song called Nothing. What do you think? Right? And